Greetings, friend, entrepreneur, and fellow business builder. Marketing Master Jim Ackerman here with the November 2019, believe it or not, monthly marketing meeting webinar for members of the Biz Kaboom Alliance. I see a bunch of you are on. Good to see that. Sign yourself in. Let me know who you guys are. We've got some more people, I'm sure, that will be coming on, but let's see who you are, and we'll get underway. We, as you know, it's 12:01 Mountain Time right now, so we always give folks a couple of minutes to get in. So we hope that you'll sign in. Say, let's see, what's the weather like in your town? How about that? So have some more folks coming in. That's good. Just give me a heads up. What's up? Hi, Lisa. Cold and snowy? Oh my gosh. Holy cow. Snow. Cold, snowy, and windy in the greater Chicago area, I'm sure. I actually like snow. I can't wait till it shows up here. But the wind, that's what gets it going. So who else is on? Everybody else sign in. Give me a high five or something there, and we'll get rolling. We'll give it just a couple more seconds before we get underway. So, okay, Eric, howdy. Royce, howdy. Some of you other folks still out there. Looking for you to get in. Okay, I'm going to start with Esther. Howdy. Nice to see you. I'm going to start with a little poll here. I think if I can figure out how to make this whole thing work. The question is, what do you think the economy will do next year? Do you think it'll be up or down? It's simply up or down question. Do you think it's going to go up? Okay. That was quick. Holy smokes. Son of a gun. Everybody says it's going to go down next year. And now we've got some folks now that are chiming in favor of it being up. So that's a little bit balancing it out. Now I'm up to 50-50. Well, the negative guys were seem more enthusiastic. They got there quickly, but now I'm up to 50-50. Okay. Anybody else wants to chime in, please do. All right. I'll leave that open for about one more minute, but let's get started and talk about this whole thing. Because look, I recognize what time of year it is, right? It is the holidays. And for many of you, if not all of you, the holidays is a very important time from a business perspective. If you're a retailer in particular, and most of you are, the holidays represents perhaps the biggest season of the year in terms of making sure you're profitable. It used to be called Black Friday because at that point in time, you broke into the black from the red. I don't necessarily think that's the case so much anymore, but nevertheless, that's the excuse that people use, and who's to argue with them on that? So I'm going to share a little, few slides with you. Let's put it that way. Oops, I got to get myself to be able to show the screen first of all. That going to walk through the front end of this, and then we'll kind of go from there. All right. So, all right. This was the title of a book many years ago, and I don't know how many of you might be familiar with it, but How to Prosper in the Coming Bad Years. And this was written by a financial advisor. His name was Howard Ruff. And he was talking to people about how to manage their portfolios in downturn times and those kinds of things. And so how to prosper in the coming bad years. Well, my belief is the same thing can be true in the coming bad years from a business and marketing perspective. And I don't know. Look, I don't know if the downturn is going to be next year. I don't know if it's going to be early next year, maybe late next year. It might be the year after that. But we've had, a pretty good run, right? if you take a look at this, here are my predictions or prophecies, if you will, related to the economy or the nation, if you want to say it that way. Look, we've had a period of unprecedented cultural turmoil, and I think there's plenty of blame for that to go around. I would say I've even been a part of it to some degree for a while. In that I have strong opinions and very judgmental of the quote unquote other side. And there's been a lot of us, I think, on both sides of the equation, right and left, politically speaking, at least, that been very intolerant of other people and their views and beliefs. And, it's my way or the highway, or it's our side against your side. And there hasn't been much by way of any desire to find middle ground. It's an unfortunate societal circumstance that we find ourselves in. But the biggest problem with it is I don't see it going away anytime soon. I think that the continued cultural turmoil will put pressure on us as business people from a variety of perspectives. And I think generally speaking, it's unhealthy. If we had not had some of this cultural turmoil over the last 2.5, 3 years, I suspect that our economy would have done substantially better than it did anyway. And as you're probably aware, the economy over the last 2.5 or 3 years has been pretty darn remarkably good. Okay. I do expect that the year-long election cycle, back in the days when I was a television reporter, this was in the late 70s, early 80s, I was a television reporter for a number of years, and the election cycle was, 6 or 8 months, maybe closer to the 6 months when things, really got rolling. As you know, the party that does not have an incumbent in office has been having debates for months already in a very large field. I believe the Iowa caucuses are actually in January in the United States. So that officially will kick off the election cycle, and we vote in November. So that's an 11-month minimum election cycle, and it's really more like 15 months. And, when we think about a presidential election, that's 15 months. If you're looking at congressional elections that happen every 2 years, there's no downtime. You're always running for office, and that there's always the political stuff. And I think, frankly, that's part of the continued cultural turmoil. They do something interesting in Texas. Their legislature only meets once every 2 years, at least on their regular schedule. They might be called in for special sessions or something like that. The rest of the country would do something like that. It might make life a lot easier for all of us. In spite of all of that, there will be a flattening of the economy. I'm not here to predict that we're going to go into a recession or a depression. I'm not here to predict that we won't. But I think the best you can say is that there will be a flattening of the economy. And with the flattening of the economy will come some fear, some pulling in of their wings on the part of consumers and businesses, for that matter, and that will present some challenges. We'll continue to see the rise of the millennials, and there's pros and cons to that. The good news is the millennials get a little bit older, they'll also have a little bit more money. I saw an extensive research report on millennials that dispelled many of the myths related to millennials, that they are motivated differently than their previous generational counterparts, specifically the baby boomers, in that they weren't as interested in things as they were experiences and those kinds of things. And there's, I'm sure, some truth to that, but this particular research report indicated, hey, they're just as interested in having a house. They just don't have the money to buy one. When they do get the money to buy one, they don't have the money to buy as big a one. And they may value things like, hey, rather than a big house and a big yard to take care of, I'd rather have the ability to go on more vacations and that kind of stuff. And they're having fewer children. So again, there's pros and cons to all of this. If, for example, they're having fewer children, they may have more disposable income to spend on pets or jewelry or their vacations or those kinds of things. There will be more digital conflict. What do I mean by digital conflict? I mean Facebook, Google, Amazon, those guys are all embroiled at some level in turmoil, conflict, ethical considerations. Are they platforms or are they publishers? Are they being fair to everybody who utilizes their platform? Are they breaching our privacy? Do they have too much information from us? Is their artificial intelligence gotten to the point where they are steering our opinions and rather than us steering their opinions? These things are going to come to the forefront even more. And is there a possibility, for example, that you get anti-monopoly legislation against places like Google and Facebook and possibly Amazon? These things will continue to fester and inject themselves into the public psyche. You can look forward to higher mass media costs next year, and I'm going to explain that in a couple of minutes, but the price of media will go up. I'm talking about mass media, particularly broadcast, okay? In addition, you will have higher digital media costs, and I'll talk about that in a minute as well. But these are what you have to look forward to as I look down the road and make my predictions for 2020. By the way, I could be wrong, okay? However, let me tell you this. Before, and I'm talking a couple of months before the 2016 election, I posted on Facebook a prophecy. And here's what I prophesied. Donald Trump would win the election and do so in a landslide. He would preside over the most corrupt administration in history, and he would be impeached. I made those predictions before he was elected. He did win, not in a popular vote landslide, but in an electoral landslide. He is presiding over the most corrupt administration in history. Not sure that that's his administration, but the deep state stuff, I'll leave that for you to decide for yourself. And obviously, the impeachment question is very much alive and on the table. So I'm saying this tongue in cheek. I know you may not be able to see my face. I'm saying this tongue in cheek. Beware lest you not take seriously my prophecies. Okay. All right. It's the economy, stupid. Look, here's what we can kind of think toward in the coming year. Politicians generally don't want a bad economy. Even the side that's not in power, there's a lot of talk that would say, hey, the Democrats don't want a good economy because if it's a good economy, that bodes well for Trump. On a global basis, that might be true, but on individual congressional races, that may not be true. People want a good economy, especially those Democrats who, just like Republicans, who are running for re-election. Things are good. They don't want you to feel like they're not as good, so that you're going to not re-elect them. After the election, all bets are off. I think we'll avoid recession until at least 3 months before the election, at which time things could go south, but not be recognized as being south until the election is decided. Okay, so here's what I mean by that. The politicians don't want it to be a bad economy. I don't think the Fed wants it to be a bad economy. The president and his party will do everything they can to keep it a good economy, at least into June, July, and August. Okay. At that point in time, things may have turned bad or may turn bad, but at that point in time, it takes usually 3 months to recognize we might be in a recession. And obviously, if things start to go south in August or are reported as going south in August, well, you've got August, September, and October, and then you're on the election before you get any definitive read on whether you're actually in the recession or not. And it's too late. You'll have voted by then. Okay. So I think things will be relatively steady through the first 6 to 7 or even 8 months of the year. And then, like I said, all things are off. Even if things are strong, once the election hits, I think all bets are off, regardless of who wins. Okay. If Trump is reelected, I think that things that I see on the horizon are such that there's a good likelihood that things turn south anyway. And if the other party gets in, I think things will go south anyway. So what does this mean to you? Do you have to expect for your world? Well, the first thing is media advertising will be higher than normal. Broadcast availabilities will be limited by political advertising. All right. So we've got this election cycle that is, for all intents and purposes, already started. It will kick off in earnest in January with the Iowa stuff. Anybody who is advertising in Iowa may have already, and it wouldn't surprise me in the least, already seen increases in the cost of their advertising and decreases in the availability of that advertising. All political candidates, for national office, state office, and local office, will be sucking up airtime. And the rules of political advertising on the airwaves specifically dictate that the stations must make available to political candidates their media at the lowest possible prices. Okay, so what will happen is the media will raise prices so that their lower prices are higher, if that makes sense. So that when candidates come in to buy, they'll buy their spots at the lowest possible rates. But those rates will be higher because now, look, no other media, just radio and TV is subject to this, okay? TV or newspapers, they get to sell it however they want. Direct mail, there's special rules for political advertising the post office has, but everybody lives by those, and it really doesn't have any bearing on you. You get to pay your regular rates for direct mail. Digital advertising, including pay-per-click, is already on the rise. The bidding for pay-per-click clicks is going up in general, and it's going to continue to increase. Not because of politics. It's just the way it's going to go in the digital world, okay? To some degree, a supply and demand issue, all right? So here's how you win in the face of all that, okay? As things turn south, here's what will happen. Your competition will stick their heads in the sand. I'm assuming you won't, right? The competition will stick their heads in the sand and pretend that it's not happening at first. As they get worse, as things get worse, the competition will pull in their marketing wings. They will cut their marketing budgets. They will do less. They will try to ride it out, hoping that they can spend less on marketing and it won't hurt them until we get through this thing, right? Some of your competitors will actually go out of business in fairly short order. There are some competitors out there that are already on relatively shaky ground. When things turn south this next time because they have not been prepared, they'll either throw in the towel or be forced to throw in the towel, okay? Smart marketers like you will maintain or even increase your marketing, pick up the orphans from those who have been left by the wayside by the going out of business people that used to serve them, or because the competition has pulled in its marketing wings. They're orphans by virtue of being abandoned in the marketplace. In other words, if you are a jeweler and you're used to doing what I've always taught you to do, which is, inviting your existing customers to come back and buy from you again at least 6 times a year, but you're not, quote unquote, in my parlance, woke enough to realize that as things turn south, you should continue marketing. So you become one of these guys who pulls in your wings. And now instead of inviting people to come 6 times a year, you only invite them 2 times a year. Those customers of yours that are not being paid attention to as much will be subject to the marketing of other competitors of yours who say, I'm going to keep advertising or inviting them back in 6 times a year, or I may even boost it up to 8 or 10 or 12 times a year that I invite them back in. Okay. So that is how you win. That is how you win, is you stay focused on getting your marketing in place early and being consistent with it and even increasing it as time goes on. Okay. That's what you can do. All right. So in that light, marketing planning specifically, my recommendation is that you increase your commitment to direct response marketing, that you increase your commitment to the idea of measuring your marketing. Because while you will want to either maintain or perhaps slightly increase the overall marketing effort, the way to really leverage anything you're doing for marketing is to measure it, make sure the things that you are doing are in fact paying off, and do more of the things that do pay off and less of the things that don't pay off. Okay. That's just vitally important that you do that. By the way, interestingly enough, the poll, which I'm going to end now, actually had 60% of you on the optimistic side. When it all came in, 60% of you said you think the economy will be up next year. Interesting. I don't agree with that. I'm with the 40% who say it'll be down next year, and I don't say that as a pessimist. I say that as a realist and perhaps a bit of a futurist who looks out into the future. It's part of my job, and tries to anticipate what's going on. So for those of you who are enthusiastic and think the economy will be up next year, I hope and pray that you are right. And the things I'm talking about now in terms of planning for a not as good future as we've had in the recent past will serve you just as well by a good economy as a bad economy. Okay. Excuse me. It's water time. All right. So if you haven't already, shift aggressively to the direct response model. Now, as far as your digital advertising goes, this is almost, and I'm emphasizing the words almost, falling off a log easy, because all of the digital platforms have an analytics dashboard or system associated with them where you can go in and measure, hey, how many clicks am I getting? What's my conversion rate? Those kinds of things. But you can also A/B split things, right? So you can say, I did this ad and it generated, X percent of click-throughs, and I did this Y ad and it generated Y percent of click-throughs. This one outperforms this one, so I'm going to discard this one and put more of my money into this one. That's the kind of thing that we're talking about. One danger of that, as you consider your digital marketing, is that a click does not a sale make. Okay? So if you look across the board, average click-through rates across all industries are roughly 2%. So if every 100 people that see your ad, 2 of them will click on the ad that takes them wherever you take them, okay? Now, I'm going to assume that you're smart enough to take them not to your general website, but to a landing page that is specifically related to the ad that you put up, all right? If you take them to your general homepage of your website, okay, then you have virtually wasted whatever money you spent on the click, because most of your websites are not set up to sell anything, all right? And I hate to be that blunt about it, but they're not. They're digital brochures for all intents and purposes. I mean, ask yourself this question. On your website, at the top of your website, you have a slider, and that slider goes across with different images, and the images are of beautiful people or products. But that thing every 2.5 seconds or whatever it is slides to the next thing, and it may rotate anywhere from a minimum of 3 to a maximum of maybe 10 different slides, okay? That is proven to lower response. But even more than that, is there anything at the top of your website that gets people to take a specific action, make a phone call, click on a specific offer, anything like that? I'm asking rhetorically, and you've heard me talk about this in the past. I'm hoping and praying I'm wrong about this, but as I look at most of the websites of my clients and my Biz Kaboom Alliance members, that's what I see. And parenthetically, people say, you know, I've got one guy who's paying something like $15,000 to get a custom website done. Why? Well, because I don't want just a template. They're all templates. The custom one's going to pretty much look and function the same way as the template one does, only you're going to choose different pictures and different colors and different typefaces. I wouldn't spend additional money on a custom site to save your life for most businesses. It's just a waste, okay? But at any rate, if you're sending people from your digital ad to your home page of your website, the odds are you're not going to sell anything. There won't be a conversion rate that's meaningful, okay? Now, it's not saying that nobody will go on to look at a second page on your site, and it's not saying that nobody will ever buy anything from you. But, you know, Paul Furs and I were just talking about it a week or so ago, and polling our own clients out there, there's the vast majority of them aren't making any money from their websites. They can point to 1%, 2% or less of overall revenues, with some very rare exceptions, coming directly from their website. Now, the argument is, yes, but it's driving people to my store, and that may be true. I don't know how you're measuring that. I hope you are trying to measure that, especially if you've got one of those websites that does nothing. But if you are serious about trying to get people to buy something or take some next step in the buying process, then your digital advertising, the pay per click, the click that you pay for, should take them to a landing page that talks about the topic of the ad. So if you are giving them, if you're going to give them information, on how to be a wise purchaser of diamonds, for example, then when they land on that landing page, the only thing on that landing page should be related to getting them that information. If that information is going to be free, then there should be a form for them to fill out, because what you get out of it, the purchase they're making at that point in time, is surrendering contact information in exchange for your information, right? Their contact information in exchange for the free information that you're giving them in a report or whatever. That can be worth the click. And then when they fill out that form and hit submit, you have a conversion. By the way, the normal conversion rate is 2%, right? So you have, of every 100 people who see your pay-per-click ad, 2% or two of them will click through to your landing page. And of 100 people who hit your landing page, 2% of those are clicking through to the next step. That next step could actually be a purchase. It's more likely to be some other next step that gets them a little bit closer to the purchase. Okay. So what we're talking about here is 2% of 2%. So all the people that expose to your ad, 2% of them will click. Of all the people who come to your landing page, assuming you've got a landing page that allows them to actually do something, 2% of those will click. So you're getting 2% of 2%. All right. And that's one of the reasons why the digital thing is a little bit misleading to people. All right. Nevertheless, the cost of those clicks is going to go up and the cost of conversion will go up. So you're going to need to do things with your digital marketing that will increase your conversion rates. You may or may not be able to do too much about the click-through rates, and you create and you test and track and A/B split different ads to try to increase the click-through rate. But once you get them to a landing page, you darn well better have something there that will get them to click through and take whatever the next step is, whether that's to purchase or simply surrender information. In the spirit of getting them to purchase, make sure when people go to, my wife just bought a pair of shoes online. She doesn't even remember who she bought them from. It's important because she got the shoes and didn't like them, but she doesn't know who to send them back to. Okay. Now, look, I know you're going to say it's on the packing slip. Well, there wasn't a packing slip. Well, there was one on the outside of the package. I think she fell for something. Okay. They are shoes. She paid $27 for them. They're probably worth $5. But my point is, somebody got her to click. Somebody got her to take that next step. Somebody enticed her with a deal that she felt like was a really, really good deal. And the reason I can tell you that is my wife doesn't do anything purchase-wise unless she thinks it's a really, really good deal. It can't be just an okay deal. It's got to be a really, really good deal. So she, I'm sure, figured those shoes were worth $56 or $54 or maybe more. And obviously she got them in and is unhappy with them. But the point is, somebody made her an offer that was good enough that she went and spent the $27. Okay. My point to you is, make offers that are no-brainer easy for your people to say yes to on your advertising as a general rule. Okay. So whether it's pay-per-click advertising or your Facebook marketing, think in terms of some kind of feeding frenzy type offers. Okay. Now, we've got a great example of this that we're running right now on a regular basis. We have had a dozen jewelers, retail jewelers, sign up for Bill Warren's, through our Marketing Gems program, Bill Warren's Gold Mine Black Friday promotion. And Bill has a 14-year track record of home runs every single year with his Black Friday promotion. And the key secret to this Black Friday promotion is he's selling products at 3 price points: $10, $20, and $30. Okay. This is jewelry for $10, $20, and $30, or $9.97, $19.97, and $29.97. Okay. You can take all the rest of what Bill does and has done for 14 years from a marketing perspective, and I'm talking about from the advertising side to get people to come in. They would not come in if not for those 3 price points. Okay? It's the offer that makes it work. I have people say to me, jewelers say to me, I never want to sell something that cheap in my in my store. It will ruin my brand. No, it won't. It's Black Friday. Black Friday, everybody understands how Black Friday works. They will forgive you for selling some cheap stuff on Black Friday, and it won't negatively impact your brand. In fact, it will positively impact your brand. I don't want to get off on the tangent of Black Friday. What I'm saying is you make compelling offers. So, for example, you could have a First Friday promotion. Every first Friday of the month, you have some kind of screaming deal. It's a limited supply deal that's only advertised on Facebook. Okay. So you can have a Facebook post. You can boost it to the public. You can do Facebook advertising that advertises the screaming deal, but there's only X number of them. You can drive them to a landing page where they will actually make the purchase. You can make them come into your store if you want to, but the idea is feeding frenzy. Limited supply, impulse buy items. That's the formula for actually generating sales from your social media and pay-per-click advertising, as opposed to just generating clicks and likes and follows and those kinds of things that you can't go out to dinner on. All right. So shift to that direct response model in your digital marketing as well as on your other marketing. Secondly, and I've kind of alluded to this, make more compelling offers. Okay. And you can budget for this. All right. But if you are in the habit of not making any offers whatsoever, or you are in the habit of doing 10% off type offers, you're not likely to get good response to your advertising, whether it's digital or traditional. All right. It's just the facts of life, and you know it. I've been preaching it for decades, but you've got the experience of it. You've had the experience. And what do I get all the time, right? Radio doesn't work. I get people telling me, radio doesn't work for me. I've tried radio, it doesn't work. More often than not, maybe the reason it doesn't work is because you've made a crummy offer that nobody would respond to, whether they heard it on the radio, saw it in the newspaper, saw it in the direct mail, saw it online, or whatever. If it's a crummy offer, people won't come. Doesn't matter how good the ad is, people won't come for crummy offers. They must see value. Now, that doesn't mean you have to discount at all, for that matter. You just have to make sure that it's a good offer. All right. It could be a full price offer if in the rest of your ad you convince them that there's value enough to pay full price. All right. On the other hand, you might want to do some things to sweeten the pot. All right. And you could look toward value added offers. And a couple of additional things that I could throw into this relative to not just the Black Friday event. Many of you are familiar with, I bragged about, if you will, Hadley Perry and what she's done with events in her store over the last couple of years. This year she'll have done, I think, 17 events. Now, it's driving her crazy to get all that stuff organized. So next year she's going to back off to, I think, 13 or 14 events, or 12 maybe. All right. But the point is, she has tremendous success in these event after event after event after event. People show up in good numbers and spend substantial amounts of money. Well, she has a nice combination in her events of discounts in some cases, but value adds in other cases. You can come to her events and there will almost always be some kind of swag bag, free gift that you get just for showing up without buying anything. And sometimes there's a limited supply. For the first 100 people through the door, the first 60 people through the door, whatever it is, you get this swag bag valued at $25, $50, $150 even in some cases. That she's providing. Bill Warren's doing this with his Black Friday event where he has a little metallic tote bag, for crying out loud. It probably has a perceived retail value around $10. He's paying, $2.50, $3 for it. Okay. But while supplies last, or for the first 100 people through the door, or for some kind of language like that, you get this as a free bonus just for showing up. Okay. At certain times of year, that free little tote bag might be quite compelling. By the way, how do you like the sun on my head? Pretty good, huh? Yep, blinding. I keep having to lean further forward because the sun's going that way, coming through the window more this way. So, all right, so more compelling offers and in the form of value adds. Now, think about this. Take a look at your cost of acquisition of a customer, or even a transaction for that matter, right? When you take a look at the cost of acquisition of a customer, you're taking the total amount of money you spend on advertising to the general public and dividing it by the number of new customers you get through the door, and that will give you cost of acquisition of a new customer. If you take all the money you spend trying to get your existing customers to come back, divide it by the number of existing customers who do come back, that will give you cost of an additional transaction. Or if you take all the money you spend on advertising and divide it by the number of new customers plus repeat customers, you'll get the cost of a transaction, okay? Take a look at that number and then take a look at your advertising budget. And if your cost of acquisition of a customer is low, but you're not getting a lot of new customers through the door, that's a sign that you may need to increase your cost of acquisition. That does not necessarily mean, it could, but not necessarily mean that you would spend more money on advertising. You might keep the same budget for advertising, but improve the offer, okay? In other words, you'll spend the money, but spend it on the offer, on those pot sweeteners, if you will, or on the discount, even if you need to. That's where you count that increase in expenditure. And you may have an adequate advertising budget. We talk about this with our coaching clients all the time. And as a Biz Kaboom Alliance member, even if you're not a coaching client or you were a past coaching client, remember, you've got 3 hours of consultation every year to spread out as you want. You've got 6 ad critiques to spread out any way you want through the course of the year. You have a monthly free call-in day on a first come, first serve basis that you can get additional free consultation, and you're probably not using it to the level that you could or should. So you don't have to go it alone and guess on this stuff. That's what we're here for, all right? We can help you balance that out. Are you spending enough on the media? Could you benefit from spending a little bit more on the offer? And how is that message being conveyed, right? Now, last point I want to make relative to the offer side of things is don't hesitate to do lead generation offers, okay? Lead generation offers. So some of you, I probably ought to look and see who's on right about now, okay? All right, we've got a bunch of folks on there. Some of you, it doesn't look like anybody's using anybody that's on, I don't think, is using the lab-grown diamonds turnkey promotions that we put together. So I'm going to go ahead and use that as an example, right? So you might be familiar with my position on lab-grown diamonds, which is jewelers have an opportunity to capitalize on lab-grown diamonds even without selling lab-grown diamonds. And the way you do that is you capitalize on the controversy, right? So a lab-grown, you can take the position of being a lab-grown specialist. We sell lab-grown diamonds. We're the best. We've got a bigger selection of lab-grown diamonds, blah, blah, blah. You go out to the marketplace hot and heavy saying, we're your lab-grown diamond specialists, right? And you're selling them. You could also take the position of, I wouldn't touch a lab-grown diamond with a 10-foot pole. There's too many problems with them economically. You're investing in a decreasing asset, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can talk about all that stuff. You can talk about the fact that there's some question about whether their claims of greenness have been misleading. You can go and talk about all those kinds of things, but you can never sell a lab-grown diamond and capitalize on the buzz by taking the anti-position. Or the third position that you can take is the fair broker, which is, I will tell you the pros, I'll tell you the cons of both lab grown and mine diamonds, and I'll leave it to you to make an adult decision in your own best interest what kind of diamond you want to buy. All three of those positions will cash in on the lab grown phenomenon. Okay. My point relative to lead generation is you can do advertising to get people to surrender their contact information to you on the topic of the lab grown. So you do an ad that says, discover the truth about lab grown diamonds, or discover the sinister truth about lab grown diamonds. It doesn't matter what position you take. You can take any of the three positions and run that ad as a Google ad or a Facebook ad. Click here. They click there, it takes them to a landing page, and the landing page has some copy on it that says either lab-grown diamonds are the bomb, you really ought to get into them, lab-grown diamonds suck, you should never get into them, or there's pros and cons to lab-grown diamonds, discover the truth here. Any three of those positions is fine, all right? And they have a form to fill out to send for a free report or free information from you about lab-grown diamonds. All right. Now you've captured their information, and it cost you the cost to click to capture their information, and you've had to make whatever investment you've had to make to either digitally or physically send them their free report. But you now have their contact information along with the knowledge that they have some level of interest in lab-grown diamonds. That's pretty powerful. That's pretty valuable. Now you can proactively email them or snail mail them, or perhaps even call them or text them, depending on how much information you were successful in gleaning in that on that landing page. All right. Now, instead of broadcast advertising to anybody and everybody out there, which is very expensive, you have used your media advertising to narrowly focus down and get people to respond to a specific offer, telling you about that person, and now you can follow up with email, direct mail, phone calls, and texts that are directly related to something that they've already expressed an interest in. And instead of paying for all that broadcast type advertising, you're only paying a very little by comparison to go after them on an individual basis. You're going to need to have a funnel in place to do that. But that is a possibility and a good, strong probability to get maximum value out of your mass marketing budget. In the old days, you could put a price and item ad in the newspaper and be rich by Tuesday. It doesn't work that way anymore. First of all, the newspapers don't work anymore, and that's a general statement. There are specific exceptions, and your individual paper might be one of them. But in general, newspapers aren't working very well anymore, and so you can't do that. You can still do price and item advertising. In fact, I recommend it to a large degree through your digital stuff. But you can use your mass media, your traditional media, to drive people to specific offers. Even your radio advertising can drive people to a website or a landing page, better said. And once again, get specific information about specific stuff. I should put this in the form of a poll, but in the interest of time, I'm not going to do it. We've only got a few minutes left. How many of you are familiar with iHeartMedia for radio, and their dial pound 250 and say the keyword X, right? This is turned radio into a direct response medium in a way it's never been before. If you think back, right? Do you remember when you would hear on radio Hooked on Phonics? Dial 800 ABCDEFG or something like that, right? That was a direct response ad for a direct response product. And most brick and mortar businesses didn't connect that, couldn't figure out how to make that work for them, right? Nowadays, if you've got pets, for example, Dinovite, Dinovite. Okay, and you can www.dinovite.com or whatever maybe that's the phone number, but I do know that Dinovite is for Dinovite, a food or supplement for dogs. Okay, but what iHeartMedia has done with radio is allow the everyday business, service company or retailer, to be able to turn their advertising, their radio advertising, into a direct response medium very easily. People driving down the road dial pound 250 and say the word diamonds, or say the key phrase lab growns, or say boat, my boat, new boat, boating secrets. All right, all those kinds of keywords. So what happens is that you will follow up with a text message, because what's going to happen is they're going to either leave, when they get that, when they say dial pound 250 and that code word, they're going to get a text message back. And the text message will have a phone number with it, or it'll send them to a website that they can actually click on their phone, right? And take them to that landing page and take the next action. And now all of a sudden your radio is becoming a meaningful direct response medium. The more you move toward direct response and the more you emphasize testing and tracking to see what pulls best in A/B splits, the better off you're going to be in the success of your marketing, and you will have a competitive advantage over your competition that's not doing this, that will make up for substantial size differences. Okay, they might be bigger than you, they might have a bigger budget than you, but if you are testing and tracking, so you're genetically engineering your marketing for ever increasing success, your chances of being successful and clobbering the competition are going to be terrific. Couple of wrap-up points. Number one, if you're in a market and in an industry where there will be orphans left, specifically go after those orphans. Now, if you've recently lost your jeweler, I've got a solution for you, kind of a thing. You can do that through direct mail. You can do it through Every Door Direct Mail. Every Door Direct Mail has tremendous potential. It's not a cakewalk to make it work. I think it's better than marriage mail. It's more expensive per impression than marriage mail, but it's also probably substantially more effective than marriage mail. So take a look at Every Door Direct Mail as you move forward. And then in your marketing planning, I would follow the model that we have our coaching clients go through, and that is to identify the specific strategies that you're going to use, not tactics, but the strategies. What is your strategic approach going to be, your overall plan to accomplish your goal, and then identify specific tactics or marketing initiatives that will allow you to achieve those goals. And that will usually come in the form of specific promotions or programs or campaigns or whatever. Make sure that you test and track, and when you find out what works best, then you plow more money into it. Okay, we got about 7 minutes left. Questions on any of this? I hope you've got some, because I know darn well there should be. Okay. Bill says, ladies love that tote bag tool. It works. Thanks, Bill. Appreciate that. Okay, I'm looking on the chat for any of your questions. And by the way, we've had a really good crowd on here today. We've got more people on the call than we've had for a long, long time, quite frankly. So I appreciate your participation in that, but tell me what you've got for questions. Now's the time to ask. And by the way, I'll open it up if other people have comments, not just questions, but comments. I'd like to see and hear those. And if you have comments or answers to questions from other members, by all means, leave those with us as well. Let me see. I can also allow you to speak if you've got a microphone. So if you want to request the opportunity to speak, you can do that, and I'll allow you to do that as well for the next couple of minutes. Okay. I love the fact that you're here. I'm always concerned if there aren't questions, though, and I'm not concerned because I think I'm such a terrific presenter that you understand everything that needs to be I successfully conveyed 100% of what I needed to convey. I'm more concerned that you might not have gotten it. Okay, Esther, love to hear. All I've got is it on there. It's good to have you back. It's been a while. It's a big topic, just mulling. Okay, I've got that. All right. Tell me how business has been, Esther, up there. Esther's up in Canada, assuming it's the Esther I think it is. Bill says, might I also mention other great free premiums have been candles like Yankee Candles, hand soaps, and lotion. Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up, Bill. One thing that you should know, that's Bill Warren on there, and he's obviously got the Black Friday program. I'd love to have a couple more of you if you're interested in the Black Friday program. But tomorrow's the absolute drop dead deadline. Anybody who wants in on that needs to get in on it now if you haven't already, because the time is up for being able to get it all put together. Okay. But Bill has a couple of important things to say about the Black Friday thing. We've had several people license the program, and they always come back and say, well, I want to use the exact same items that Bill used last year as my door crashers, those $10, $20, and $30 items, right? Well, Bill doesn't use the same items every year. He couldn't do that. He mixes it up every year. He's got different stuff every single year. And so what he's doing with the door crashers is an issue of price point, not of the specific item. So as long as you hit a price point at $10, $20, and $30, it's going to be fine regardless of what the item is, okay? This year, Bill is giving away a wood wick candle, which crackles like a fireplace as it burns. It's a $20 value. Just out of curiosity, Bill, do you mind sharing with us how much you actually pay for that $20 value? Because I know I've got at least one guy on here who was shocked that you were paying as much as you were paying for your free gift in the form of the tote last year. Esther says things have been better in Canada since the tariffs came off. Hallelujah, sister. But now we may have a 10% luxury tax coming on the boats over 150,000. Geez, it's never easy, is it, Esther? So yeah, Bill, if you could fill us in on what that's costing you. Anybody else, meanwhile, have any questions or comments? $3. $3 Bill is paying for those crackling candles. And that, again, Eric, right? That's more than what you expected to see. But it brings them in. And that's the key thing. Any other comments? We will have a webinar next month. I know it's December. I know you guys are busy. Michael says, where are you picking up these candles? If you've got a source for that, Bill, I'd like to know where that is. A Woodwick candle. I'm wondering if they are, if it's woodwick.com or something like that, whether you bought them online. So a little clarification on that would be helpful. Thanks for the question, Mike. Yes, we will have it. It might be a shorter one. Look, I understand many of you, most of you are retailers. So, Eric says, I just ordered CZ earrings at $3 each for my freebie. I think that's probably a good idea. Bill says, I purchased the candles at the Woodwick Candle Outlet in Virginia. So they probably have a website. Okay. So I would say type into Google Woodwick Candle Outlet or Woodwick Candles. That will get you where you need to be. The CZs, I think, fine on that. That's good. The more reasons you give your clients to come in, the better, and that is exactly right. So he's got the free gift, plus he's got the three items that they can come in and buy 4 of each of the 3 items if they want, very inexpensively, heck of a deal. And for 14 years, it's been a home run for Bill. Okay, Bill says you may also buy these at woodwick.yankeecandle.com. Okay, so if you're interested in those. All right, time is up. Thanks for your input, everybody. Appreciate it. The more back and forth we have going, I think the better off it is for everybody. So never hesitate to add your 2 cents in, even through the course of the webinar. The last thing then is I want to remind you once again, yes, we'll have the webinar. It might be abbreviated, but seriously, guys, you are each entitled to free consultation and those ad critiques. Now, some of you that are in the midst of your coaching program, you're getting that anyway. I get that. But many of you that were on the call today are not current coaching clients. You're either past coaching clients or somebody who's never been in the coaching program. Very respectful of that. You still have, as a member of the Biz Kaboom Alliance, 3 hours of consultation. You get to spread out any way you want through the course of the year. And we're not lawyers about it. We're not going to start I don't have a stopwatch going, I spent 3 minutes and 86 seconds with Esther today. Take that off for 3 hours. We don't work it that way. You guys know us. We're pretty easy to get along with. But take advantage of that free consultation. You're paying for it, right? Okay. And then those ad critiques, same thing. The free call-in day, the same thing. These are, bonus benefits you get as members of the Biz Kaboom Alliance that you need to be taken advantage of. We're here to help you. It benefits us if you thrive, right? You're going to stay with us if you thrive, if your business improves, if you get better results, if you can genetically engineer your marketing by virtue of what we share with you, not just on a webinar where I'm kind of talking at you, and it's even with the chat, it's a mostly a one-way street, right? If you need the help, that's why we put that free consultation in there as part of your membership. So take advantage of it, please. We want to serve you in that way. All right, and with that, I will say to you, happy Thanksgiving. And have a great holiday selling season. Don't forget to ask if you need. Ask for what you want and need, as my wife always tells me. All right, everybody, take care. Have a great November and heading into the December. Bye-bye.